1904 for the World's Fair. Home to the St. Louis Blues and to indoor soccer and to various championships. And tonight, home to the Ford and Busch U.S. Hot Rod Truck and Tractor Pull Championship Series, featuring the battle of the monster trucks. Hello again, everybody. I'm Ken Brew, and you know my partner, the man pulling at your heart as well as your sled, Mike Galloway. And tonight from St. Louis, Mike, we've got a great lineup, starting with the modified trucks.
6,200-pound modified trucks, some very good trucks, some real top contenders tonight. Track is excellent. It's a short track. I think it's going to equalize the competition out. I don't think you're going to see an advantage with a big motor here tonight because of the track condition and the length of the track. Also, the 7,200-pound modified tractors, the triple engines, the Jet, the Twin Allison, a tremendous lineup, and of course, the monster trucks. 4 monster trucks. We've got a brand new one tonight that we haven't seen before. It should really be an exciting evening of competition.
One of the great things about being in an arena like this is that the fans get to sit so close to the action, and the track kind of makes the competitors all equal. You mentioned the fact the smaller track would bring the larger engines maybe a little bit closer to some of the smaller engines we're going to see tonight.
Well, Ken, it really will, because the length of the track, the big motors work good down at the far end of the track. It's a short track tonight. The sled will be heavy. You'll see that weight box come up the ramp real fast. I think it's going to equalize things out so much that it's really anyone's pull at this time.
Ford and Busch present the U.S. Hot Rod Truck and Tractor Pull Championship Series, featuring the battle of the monster trucks. This telecast is brought to you by Busch Beer, a beer with a taste as smooth as its name. Here in St. Louis, Missouri, and first up tonight, as you can see it in all its red and white glory, is the Avenger with Gary Collins, another one of the big names in hot rod racing.
El Dorado Springs, Missouri, and there's a good shot of Gary strapped down inside this beautiful Ford Mustang body. Supercharged, Keith Black, all aluminum, heavy as he brings it to life. Yeah.
Oh man, that dog wants to fight till sunset.
All the way up on the wheelie bars and right down the middle of the track. What an outstanding job Gary Collins does with the Budweiser Avenger. Of course, Gary very, very strong in the sport. Watch the front end come of it just immediately out of the hole. He uses the brakes on the back of it to guide it. It's resting on the wheelie bars. Gary kind of looking at the rafters here in the building, and right on down the track, full pull with all the room to spare in the world. Gary Collins, a beautiful job, the Budweiser Avenger.
Never had to touch the brakes. All right, we're ready now for modified pulling. We're going to see some great competition here. 4-wheel drive modified trucks. And Mike, these competitors week after week, each trying to get the upper edge on the other guy. I saw a lot of them working before this pull began tonight. And our first hook of the night, number 1 in your program, is Junior McClanahan behind the wheel of Fantasy from Lebanon, Missouri. Here he goes. Well, you can thank brother for that. Junior's brother got him going in this sport 6 years ago, and he had a pretty fair first pull, Mike.
Well, I'd say that sometimes Junior's got to be a little upset at his brother. A very expensive sport, but Junior does a great job. Used car business in Lebanon, Tennessee, with Fantasy, a 604 cubic inch Chevrolet motor. Really getting the best of it. Down at the end, he had a good run. He ran on the right-hand side of the track all the way down, staying about 6 to 8 inches off the line.
Mike, look at the dirt kick up. This seems to be a loose track tonight.
I believe it's going to be a good track. I think it's going to go back together well. Junior runs the right-hand side. He's getting good traction. A little bounce in the truck. Maybe tire pressure could be a little off in it. But look at him right on that line, and a very fine pull for Fantasy. That's one they'll write in the record books, and it'll really be tough to beat.
Junior tonight with a pull of 134 feet and 4 inches. So for a first pull and a mark to beat, pretty fair distance. And this is the Wild Hare, Dan Quello, out of Turlock, California. And as you were telling me, Mike, Quello in Portuguese means rabbit?
Rabbit, and that's he has 2 trucks on hand tonight, the Wild Hare and the Red Rabbit.
Okay.
And Rabbit Dan, a very fine puller all the way from the state of California.
Great paint job.
557 KB. Keith Black, fuel-injected Hemi setting under the hood. This truck was runner-up for a national championship not too many years ago. A very fine competitor. He'll run with the best of them.
Dan Coelho, the Wild Hair. There you see Dan, a few last-minute checks. Waiting for the green. He's got it. He's from Turlock, and he's ready to put the pedal to the metal.
He builds truck bodies and trailers.
Is that right?
When he's out in California, Dan Joe trailers.
Is feeling his oats tonight. A full pull, at least that's what it looks like, but we'll wait for the official measurement.
I don't know how close you can get without going all the way, but he is, the front of the pan looks like it has come to rest right on the finish line. So the measurement going to be very, very critical on this one.
Well, a full pull is 160 feet. Dan Coelho and the Wild Hair got awfully close, 158 feet 3 3/4 inches. Mike, here's the sled. Now, again, how does this work?
Operates through a series of gears and transmissions. It's powered off of the rear tires. The further you pull it down the track, the further the big six-pack rolls up the ramp, transferring it from a rolling weight to a dragging weight. Now, speed has nothing to do with it. Whether you go down the track at 30 miles an hour or 5 miles an hour, the box will always end up at the same place at the same time on the track. So it's very even for the first puller as well as the last. Once it has been put into gear at the start of the class, it's not changed until the complete class is finished. What we're looking at is the top shot of the sled, looking right straight on from the upper portion of it. Now, there's a drive shaft running right up the middle of the chain, which goes to a rear end at the front. That drive shaft actually connects to the differential on the rear tires. The turning of the drive shaft turns the rear end on the front of the sled, that pulls the chains that brings the box up the ramp, transferring it from a rolling weight to a dragging weight.
All right, now this guy has got the best ride in the house, Mike.
This is Tom Lashman out of Winchester, Illinois, and what he's doing with those two levers is steering the sled back to the starting line by braking either right or left tire.
And this is a replay?
Now this is the sled going down the track. The box is moving over the top. You see Tom is sitting back there for a ride. He's just along for the ride unless something was to happen. Then he has at his disposal brakes to stop the box, brakes to stop the sled, and he can get off and pull the kill switch and shut the motor down on the pulling sled. He's there for safety purposes. You cannot leave without this man on the sled.
May want to sell that man a couple of air shocks because he takes a bump going down. Backing up and getting ready to wail is Tumbleweed. That's Tom Griffin behind the wheel. He's out of Winthrop, Iowa. Been pulling tractors for about 20 years. I said started with tractors back in 1968 and has moved up to trucks. Mikey tells me the biggest difference from when he started to now, the emergence of the big money boys, the guys that come in with a lot of money as opposed to the everyday fellow like him.
Very true. Very proud of the state of Iowa and has a unique fuel tank on the front of it. They have shaped the fuel tank in the state of Iowa.
Looks like the actual fuel goes in up around Cedar Rapids, huh?
Very close. Very close.
Tom Griffin, Winthrop, Iowa.
Well, Tom,
there he is.
Always a tough competitor, no matter what part of the country you're in. And he'll travel several thousands of miles a week. Speed these things.
88 Ford, 528 cubic inch Ford wedge. Waiting for the green flag. He's got it, and he's on the way. Well, Tom went to school. He took the left side of the track. Everybody else had been right side, and it looks like he's had himself one fine pull. Dan Coelho had set the mark, 158 feet, 3 3/4 inches in Wild Hair. Tumbleweed just a little bit shy of that. Tonight, Tom Griffin with a pull of 157 feet and 6 inches. Good enough for second place. And tonight's competition is brought to you in part by Ford Parts and Service, quality parts, quality cars and trucks, and sponsor of the United States Hot Rod Association.
Hi. I've been looking all over for this terrific video cassette.
in Norfolk, Nebraska. And Mike, he's going to be a busy son of a gun tonight, isn't he?
He sure is. Of course, the probably the second most popular person in Norfolk, Nebraska. Of course, Johnny Carson's hometown.
That's right.
But what Gary Celine is going to attempt to do tonight, he'll run this truck. Gary has a pair of them here. And he will have to take the transfer case out of this truck and put it in his other truck. Now, he already has the transfer case out of the Wildfire truck. This transfer case is not like the normal transfer case that you see in a street-driven vehicle. These are down and they're lightweight. They're built especially for truck pulling. It'll take him about 30 minutes. So he's really going to be busy between these two runs. As soon as this truck's done, they're underneath it with wrenches, jerk the transfer case.
Now, wait a minute. He's going to take it out of red hot and put it into his other truck because it broke? He's not doing this for fun, is he?
No, they unable to repair the transfer case in the Wildfire truck. Both the trucks run the same type transfer case. Both of them run the big shotgun Hemi Ford motor, 604 cubic inches. And he will be able to do this. This also means dropping all of the shifting mechanism. You got to take both of the drive lines out of it. A very, very busy young man coming up right after this pull.
88 Ranger, 604 Ford Hemi. He's a farmer, about 800 acres back in Norfolk. Cash grain is what he deals in. Fury, thunder, and a whole lot of horsepower is what his main goal is right now. He's got the green flag and he's underway.
Just a picture-perfect, dialed-in pull. A beautiful job for Gary Celine in the red-hot truck. He has really been tough.
Get that transfer case out. It's hot. He was just flat out, full tilt, right from the start.
Watch Gary as he comes down the track. Watch the front end of the truck. You'll notice the front end of the truck comes up a little bit, and when that happens, he's really putting the power down. Getting a good bite right on the end. Watch him blow right by the finish line area. Gary Celine working for everything it's worth. He has set the mark at a full pull.
The mark to beat was 158 feet, 3 3/4 inches. Beat it, red hot, smoked it. Full pull, 160 feet. And now Gary Celine has set the standard for the others to beat.
Well, the body's up. They've latched the body in place, and right now they're pulling the seat out and the floor pan out of the truck very quickly. All of this will have to come out. The transfer case set immediately underneath it. He's put together with something called Zeus fasteners, which turn with a spring on them and latch in place. Gary will quickly pull it all out. There's other gentleman there helping him, is immediately taking the drive line out between the motor and the transfer case itself. It's busy time in the red-hot pit area.
Gary told me, Mike, that he needs about a half an hour to complete the task. It's going to take him a half an hour to get it out and then get it into his other truck.
Well, I think Gary's going to be able to do it. They're really getting along good with it. Now, you'll notice already are lifting the seat out of it. Has to clear the side panel. All right, seat comes up. The transfer case is right there below the steering wheel. Right there just below the steering wheel. All the drive line, all the safety shielding has to come out of it.
Great shot.
Working very quickly to drop the drive shaft out of it. Just a beautiful job. These guys are underway. We're going to check back with them in just a second.
Okay. And backing up for a pull at it is Gerald Ammon in the Southern Belle. He is from that almost legendary sounding Pocahontas, Illinois. He's got himself an 84 Chevy, 641 under the hood. And he has had some success on the circuit this year.
It really has. And this truck was rebuilt in a short period of time. They changed the frame underneath it and changed both the axles, set the tires in quite a bit. Actually built a new truck out of it. Gerald, super tough.
Here he goes. For the Southern Belle.
Again, Brew, we're seeing something here tonight, and not to take anything away from the two pullers because they have both done an outstanding job. But we're seeing a track come around, as the pullers would call it. The traction is getting much better. But here's something we've talked about all evening long. Watch Gerald when he leaves inside, turns the tires and gets over there before the weight box comes up too high. He's into to ground that no other puller's been on all night long, and it shows right at the end with a full pull.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Gary Celine now is underneath Wildfire, Mike, and so he's in phase 2 of this job.
That is the transfer case, the longer, elongated area there.
Right, okay, and but that'll be attached to the actual frame of the truck.
They'll hook it up. There'll be a set of stands up there that they will bolt to. Sliding it up into place. Front drive shaft in line. Uh-oh. Now, here's the thing about it. They had not had that other transfer case out, so they're pulling 2 transfer cases.
So this is the old one?
No, I believe this is still the new one. They've just run into a problem with that.
Okay. We'll check back with Gary Celine. Don't go away. Mike Galloway and I will be right back with more here from St. Louis in just a moment. Celine, and he is sweating because he's fighting a timetable now.
That's his pit man working up on top. Gary's on the bottom side of the truck connecting up everything. The young lady is keeping track, and that white piece of paper in her hand is the list of all the vehicles, how far they've pulled, and their distances. Also on that list, that will give them an idea of what kind of time situation they're working against to get the truck completed. Now right there, she's showing where they stand. Red Grogan standing up right now to run. Gary Celine still down the line a little bit, but they're watching very closely as they are working against the clock.
He's got a little bit of a time to go before he has to pull. Now it's Red Grogan from Clinton, Kentucky in an 87.4 and a big engine under the hood, and out of the hood he's got a 704, and this is the little Hillbilly. So we'll see if the big engine has any kind of advantage now. This is the biggest engine we've seen so far tonight.
There's a pair of these big Ford motors here tonight. They're all aluminum. They're specially built for pulling. Watch this one work. Red Grogan is super tough. It's a good hook. It is a great hook. He's got a lot of ground speed.
Yeah. Oh man, a full pull, and he's in the pull-off.
Ken Brew, he went out easier than anyone that is hooked to that sled tonight. He went out, he had a lot of ground speed, but Red Grogan knows that's what it takes to put yourself on the map.
160 feet. It's a full pull for Red Grogan and the little Hillbilly, and now he joins the list of trucks in the pull-off. So far, we've got 4. Red Hot, Southern Belle, Daddy's Toy, and now Grogan behind the wheel of Little Hillbilly. Well, Mike, he's done it. Gary Celine has successfully taken the transfer case out of Red Hot and into Wildfire, and will now try a pull here with Wildfire. But you have to almost wonder, he's done the full pull with Red Hot. Even if he does the same here with Wildfire, he can't compete both trucks at the end. If he doesn't make a full pull with Wildfire, what does that do to Red Hot? He's got to do it all over again.
Got to take the transfer case back out of this Wildfire truck, and he'll have to go back into Red Hot. But Ken Brew, when he went out with the Red Hot truck, at that time was the point that the track just came around. The moisture came out of the bottom of the track. It got a lot tighter on top. The traction came around and everything went together. Well, at that time, he was the only person qualified for this pull-off. So chances were very good making the switch that he would be able to qualify another truck and be the only 2 trucks in the pull-off.
All right, we're going to look at early action here. We're going to take a look at exactly what was going on. There you see Celine and some of his mechanics getting that transfer case out of Red Hot and into the other truck. It was a real lot of intense labor there for about a half an hour, but he's done it. He's got Wildfire ready to go. He's got the green flag, and it's at his discretion. A full pull would really help him from a timing standpoint. There you see it. There you see the transfer case.
There's the transfer case, the drive shaft running to the rear axle. Everything on go. Watch him line. I believe he's going to do it. Yeah, he's got a hook. Yeah, he's got a hook. Yeah, he's got it. Now Gary Celine has to make a decision. Which one of those trucks went out the best? We can't definitely know that we can't run both of them in the pull-off.
Right.
Are we going to run the Wildfire truck in the pull-off and scratch Red Hot? Or we take the transfer case back out of Wildfire, put it back in Red Hot, and scratch the Wildfire truck?
I think the way he dialed in on this particular run, maybe it's the track surface, but it looked like just a better run front to back than he had with Red Hot, as good as that Red Hot truck ran. So he may want to elect to keep it in Wildfire.
He had a lot more ground speed on Wildfire. And of course, I think that could also be associated with the track, the surface changing right so abruptly.
Well, the measurement is kind of academic. It's a full pull, and of all the full pulls we've had, Mike, he seemed to have gone the farthest of all the other vehicles. So maybe it's Wildfire that we'll see in the pull-off.
Well,
Well, there's red hot. It doesn't look so hot right now.
The pieces are laying everywhere. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Gary Celine down on trackside. He has got a real decision to make.
Yeah, he has robbed Peter to pay Paul, but both have won, and the crowd acknowledging Gary Celine. Good shot. Good shot. Let's listen in now.
How come? We don't have time to fix it, switch it around again. We can't change it fast enough to get it back in there and then switch it back and forth. We got to stick with the old reliable.
Well, that's the answer then. They're going to stick with Wildfire in the pull-off. So I mean, it almost probably was a decision that was made the minute it was put in Wildfire. Look, if it works, we'll stick with it.
Well, Gary Celine said we're going to stay with Oh Reliable, and that Wildfire truck has carried him to more victories than you can count.
Tonight's action is brought to you in part by Rizlone, the total oil additive for pull. And so they went into kind of like an elimination series, a pull-off.
Well, 9 trucks went into the pull-off, and that's when the track changed. It was good. It went to a great track, and from there, the truck hooked up well. 9 of them qualified.
And, of course, the guy that did it all was Gary Celine, who had the real big problem. Remember, we told you that his transfer case in one truck broke, had to get it into Wildfire. Wildfire qualified for the full pull, and Gary really let it rip.
Went with Oh Reliable. The new truck, of course, the red hot truck, the one that they pulled the transfer case out of, put it back into the old Reliable truck, the truck that has taken him to several championships over the years, and it was time to go for the gold.
Old Reliable is the 79 Ford, the 604 Hemi engine, and Gary, we showed you the pictures of his crew working feverishly in the pit to get this truck ready for the full pull. And once he got it dialed in, Mike, there was no stopping him. I think the only thing that was going to stop him were the stands at the end of this track. It was just a superb pull for Gary.
Well, Gary, when he went to the sled, knew that he had a real tough mark to beat. He knew that he was going to have to go past the full pull mark. He was going to have to put some extension on the end of the track. He really knew the truck had to hook and hook right. I think driving on this truck was probably the key to the whole thing. You know, the driving was excellent, but the truck hooked very, very well.
Watch him come down the lane now. Watch him come right down the track, and he owned this sled tonight. He owned it completely. Hear him really getting everything ready to go, and when that green flag drops, he was ready.
Well, he's got the slack out of the chain. Everything's on go. The motor's warm. Gary's going to turn the tires loose, and when he does, he knows one thing. You've got to go for everything you got. This is the last shot. There's not any overs on this one.
Here comes Wildfire.
He rolled it for quite a ways before he nailed the throttle, and I think that was a good move. And then he went to the left-hand side of the track and put the distance on him.
Think about what Gary Celine has done tonight. 2 trucks, 2 full pulls. He takes the transfer case out of one, puts it in another, and on the pull-off has not only a full pull, but a final tote of 172 feet, 5.5 inches to win the overall competition tonight in these modified trucks. Watch the measurement coming up here. And Gary Celine knew exactly when he came out of the cab of that truck, he knew exactly that he had done exactly what he wanted to do. That was the mark to beat. 164 feet, 8.25 inches. The Wildfire just shatters it. 172 feet, 5.5 inches. A full pull is 160. And because so many trucks were equaling that, they actually measured from 160 and beyond. And Celine, the champion tonight, there's Gary. Had to do a ton of work to get there, but it paid off.
Gerald Amon coming up to congratulate him, shaking his hand. True sportsmanship in the world of pulling.
Arena, we're ready for the modified tractor class, 7,200-pound tractors. We've got 9 of them tonight, and some fine-looking machinery. Just some awesome-looking machinery.
Well, we're setting on the line with an awesome piece of equipment. 3, 5, 7, 57 there.
Oh, man! That'll bake your chicken. That is a brand. The name of that isn't new tractor. It is literally a new tractor for this man.
Only the second or first weekend that they have had this tractor out, and they must have ran 100-mile-an-hour tire speed. And Ken Brew, it was all right on the starting line. Larry Hicks nails the throttle. Front end comes up. He's hooked good. Look at the tires are growing. Look how fast they're going. But look at the weight box. The weight box all the way to the top. All the way to the top. And I'm telling you, they are putting the weight on these machines in a hurry tonight.
Well, for Mike Piper and his new tractor, a first pull of 134 feet, 5 3/4 inches. That's the mark to set. Or we'll see if they're going to pay it to the Piper before tonight is over. Well, backing up and ready to go is the farmer from Fort Recovery, Ohio. This is Milt Bergman in new and improved Rambunctious.
All homemade, and he's got 2 throttles in his hand. Of course, those connect to the 2 Allison aircraft engine, 1,710 cubic inches apiece. The front motor is turbocharged and fuel injected. The back motor is fuel injected, but with a supercharger on it, the stock supercharger. Milt Bergman, 2 completely different type engines of the same make, but the setups on the induction systems are completely different on them. Watch him work.
And a flame out to boot.
Boy, Ken Brew, that sled is so heavy. I mean to tell you, they are topping the box on these pullers about the 100-foot mark.
So a little bit more of a weight, a little bit more of a pull for the tractors than we saw on the modified.
But what they're going to have to do, just as Milt Bergman has done, and the tractor before him, and that is to nail the throttle right at the starting line. Try to get all the ground speed you possibly can before the box gets there.
And from the ground up, new and improved Rambunctious, Milt Bergman behind the wheel, 117 feet and 11 inches. Not near enough to take the lead. And rolling on out, our third competitor of the night, this is Troy Washkow. He's out of Iowa Falls, Iowa. He has an Allison, just like new and improved Rambunctious, but this is only one Allison. This is going to be a tough haul for this kid.
Truly, very true. All the weight off the front of it. They've running the front of the tractor called naked. No weight hung on the front.
Now, why would they do that?
They're putting all the weight on the back, trying to get as much traction as possible. They're going to try to lift the front end a little bit out of the starting line area and maybe just pick it up and run with it.
So to compensate a little bit for only having the one engine?
That's they're compensating for that, and they're also taking into account that the sled's heavy. The box is going to go up on the ramp real quick on them.
It is a heavy sled that they're running with now on these 7,200-pound modified tractors.
And this tractor it has been around for a number of years. This tractor is probably 8 or 9 years old. They've changed the motor setup in it. They changed the transmission in it some. But Troy's father drove this tractor originally.
We'll see his dad in a minute. But here is the fruit, Troy Washkow. That heavy sled is just so tough for an engine that size.
Well, one motor, and at one time that was as big and as good as you could get. But now there's twins in that class, and it is really a load for that kind of machine.
I think everybody who follows the sport knows Art Arphons, the green monster. The 2 GE turbines, 3,000 horsepower each. How about 6,000 horsepower? The pride of Akron, Ohio.
Art and Dusty, a father and daughter pulling team, and believe me, Dusty will not pass for a son. 3 turbines on it, actually a little turbine there behind. But watch Art Arphons build a fire.
Oh, yeah.
He got problems. He has really got problems. Got fire everywhere. He got a leak underneath the machine. He's got fire burning all over the tractor. They're going to get the extinguishers out there to him. And he has got a fuel leak.
Uh-oh.
Now, the young man there to his right is using a halon